Hey friends, I wanted to shoot this quick video for you guys because this is something that's been coming up in quite a few coaching calls in different ways, and people have different ways of addressing it. And what do we do when we've messed up? What do we do when we have this perfect plan and we set up everything well, but everything goes wrong? How do we adjust? What happens, and what can we do to get ourselves out of that funk, right? And so we've kind of all been there, right? Where let's say, for sake of example, we sign up for a fitness plan and our intentions are wonderful, and for whatever reason, even though we know it's not good for us, we chose to eat that comfort food. It could be a croissant, it could be a flan, it could be, spaghetti, just like mom used to make or whatever, right? When we know that we should have been eating the broccoli. Okay, so we just, for whatever reason, we just went back to what we like to do, right? And or let's say we've chosen to sit and relax after a long day of work when we know that we should be working out. But we're like, okay, well, you know what? Just a few minutes, right? I'm gonna sit down. I'm just gonna look at my phone, and then 3 hours later, it's 11 p.m. It's time to go to sleep, and we're like, don't. That's Homer, by the way. Like, what happened, right? And the thing is we just didn't necessarily follow through on what we said we would do, right? Now, this also plays into productivity-wise for those of us that are maybe building a business, or we just want to kick ass in general at whatever profession that we do. And what that might look like is we're answering a bunch of emails, or we're putting out fires that are constantly happening, instead of necessarily doing the work that's really going to move everything forward. And that project that's been sitting on our desk for ages, right? And not zoning in on the thing that is important. We're somehow getting distracted by many, many things that are going on around us. Now, I want to acknowledge first off that many times when things change on us, it's not us necessarily changing them, but things are changing on us, right? But it's usually the same kind of a pattern where something changes and we just kind of go with it instead of correcting, right? And it might sound like this: the day just got away from me. Or, man, I just got so busy today with so many unexpected things, I just wanted to sit home and relax. Or I just needed a quick pick-me-up because I was stressed at work. And those are all valid reasons and invalid at the same time, right? Because understand that they're valid because you think they're true, and they're also invalid because there's someone else in the same situation that would make a different choice, right? And so it's equal playing fields, right? So first things first, I want to acknowledge that everything that I might say is an opinion, and this is, again, I can't necessarily change a lot of this necessarily for you, but I'm just here to offer a perspective that can lead you to your own insight that could help you change. And here's the main point of everything, right? It's not these logical reasons of, oh, this happened and that project was put on my table, etc. It's not necessarily the logical things that create the problems. It's the emotional content that comes after the logical reason. We come up with a logical reason. This happened and now I had to do this. That's why I didn't get to stick to my plan. But then there's when we start getting emotionally charged about it, and where that comes from, it might sound like this. It's Jane and John's fault for not completing the dough file because they're irresponsible and I have to do all their work for them. You know what? That might be true, okay? But here's the thing. I actually think it's unfair to blame John and Joe for putting that file on you. Okay, now here's specifically why. You could also choose to be completely irresponsible and completely disregard all of your responsibilities in that pile that they gave you. You could be the irresponsible one and give it to someone else. If you're watching this, I'm guessing that's not you. So the fact that you chose to be a responsible person, you chose to take responsibility to make sure that the job gets done because that's who you are. First things first, it will probably be why you get promoted or you succeed, where John and Joe will probably circle the drain, if not forever, if not go down the drain eventually. And that's probably, going to be the case. But the thing is understand that if you chose to take responsibility for something that someone else chose to be irresponsible with, understand that those are two very different choices that you are fully able to choose, but you just chose to be responsible. And I would do the same thing, and I commend you for it. So it's not really about it being John and Jane's fault. It's a matter of, no, this is my fault. I put it on myself. So how can I roll with it? How can I adjust with it? Okay. So again, this is a perspective. All right. Now the next thing is let's say we're not blaming others, right? Because that's mean, right? I'm not going to blame someone else. I'm going to take full responsibility for my actions. It's just that I suck, I just have no willpower. I'm not good at following through. Okay. Now understand that yes, you're not blaming others, but let's go ahead and take the blame thrower, right? And let's point that at ourselves, right? Let's burn ourselves only, right? Now that's very noble. Not really, right there. It's self-destructive. If you guys have ever played Super Mario Brothers, if you pick up like a bomb, right? So I'm totally nerdy, going out nerd, right? But pick up a bomb, right? As soon as you touch that bomb in the game, that bomb's active. And that thing is gonna explode whether you throw it at a bad guy or whether you keep it in your hands. And so one of the big factors, doorbell, one of the big factors is the goal is to get it out of your hands as soon as possible. Otherwise it's gonna explode in your face and you're just gonna get burned. Benefits no one, you lose, right? So here's the thing. A perspective on what we can do to just kind of change that whole idea. And again, I can't change it for you, but maybe a perspective to offer you to come to your own insights on how to avoid blaming ourselves and feeling bad about thinking that, we're such a terrible person because we didn't follow through this time, right? Or we have no willpower. Here's 3 perspectives that I've learned over time that have helped me, because to be completely transparent, this is what I struggled with too. And so these are 3 perspectives that have helped me quite a lot in terms of letting that stuff go, okay? Now, first things first, when it comes to blaming ourselves, number 1 is willpower. Hey, Rubia, right there, I don't mind, all right? All right, no edits, right? Now, willpower, I know, right? Why not? Special guest. Willpower can grow and develop in the brain just like muscle can grow and develop in the body. It's actually a proven fact that willpower can be flexed, weakened, or strengthened based on what we do. And so what I started to do is I started to put little, things, little choices in my day. It could be something like I start the day with a green smoothie. It could be I start the day with intermittent fasting, or I start the day with a cold 20-second shower, which I do. But little decisions to grow my willpower, things that I don't necessarily enjoy 100%. Some of them I've started to enjoy 100%. But where I can flex that willpower. And what happens is I find that I have more staying power, I have more focus, and because I'm growing that willpower actively instead of thinking like I used to, which is some people have it, some people don't. Not true, it can be grown. And so grow it just like we can work out and get stronger, you can work that out too. So perspective number 2 on blaming ourselves is I ask myself, was my intention good? Okay, was it my intention to hurt or help that person? I may have said something that hurt their feelings, but was my intention to hurt them or help them? I may have hurt my own feelings by saying something bad about myself. Was my intention to help myself or hurt myself, right? Maybe my intention was to take responsibility, but I said some not nice things to myself, right? And so if my intention was to grow, my intention is to get better, and I can acknowledge that it was a mistake in terms of choice, but it wasn't a mistake in terms of character, I'm okay with being a wonderful person that makes bad choices, because I can correct a bad choice, but it's very hard for me to correct a mistaken character. So I always check on my intention, because as Tony Robbins says, motive matters. Okay, now the third perspective in terms of what I can do to get rid of self-blame, okay? And this is, again, a perspective, right? Is I always live in like I'm in draft number 7 or draft number 8, right? And so when we were in school, when we turn in our homework, right? Because it's like, let's say a big paper, and the teacher had to make sure that we had like draft number 1, draft number 2, and then the final draft, right? I always live like I'm in draft number 2, draft number 7 or 70. And I don't necessarily ever think that I'm gonna have a final draft. And the reason for that is because if it sucks, I don't feel bad. It gets me to at least start, because if you think about it, if the spelling's wrong, if everything's messy, the storyline doesn't make any sense, or it's just ugly in general, right? I'm proud and happy that I actually started. I'm proud and happy that I actually did something, okay? Instead of doing nothing and feeling bad about that. So I'm gonna feel bad about, hey, that sucked, and I can kind of correct it from there in draft number 2, or I can feel bad about nothing and continue to do nothing. And so I'd rather, on that forward momentum, right, just always think of myself in that draft mode, right? So never turning in that final draft, so it's not, I'm never really gonna judge myself on it. I'm just always the student in the sense of learning. So for sake of example, if let's say I feel it's starting to get pretty good, I never get in over my head, or I never think I'm like super awesome and let my ego get in the way, because even though I think of it, it's really good, it's draft number 70. I'm looking for ways to improve still and learn from others so that I can do better on draft number 71. So even if it's pretty good, I'm always looking for ways to improve, so I never let my ego get in the way. That's a pro when you're good, right? But let's say on the other side is, let's say if it totally sucks, I'm like, hey, I made a mistake there. Wow, I actually only did one thing right. No problem. I actually take all of that as a lesson for learning, so I can make corrections on draft number 2. And so those are 3 things that I do feel can help when it comes to that self-blame part. Again, willpower is a muscle. Was my intention good? And I'm always in draft mode. And so no worries, I can learn and get better, right? But in a nutshell, guys, let's go ahead and check the logical reasons on why we do what we do when it comes to messing up. But at the same time, also check that emotional content to dive deeper into, are we blaming others? Are we blaming ourselves? And what can we do about it? If you're blaming others, you chose to be responsible. If we're blaming ourselves, I mentioned those 3 things. So other than that, guys, take care. I hope you found this valuable, and I will talk to you later. This video is a draft, by the way.